The US House of Representatives has backed a resolution calling for a constitutional amendment to be used to remove Donald Trump from office. The president is accused of inciting rioters at the Capitol last week. The request from the Democratic-controlled House now goes to Vice President Mike Pence, but he's already ruled out applying the 25th Amendment to declare Trump unfit for office.
The resolution is adopted. Without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on the table.
Ultimately, this appeared to be an exercise in futility. As expected, given the Democrat majority in the House, the motion was passed. But this only after the vice president stated he would not invoke the 25th Amendment and remove President Trump from office.
In a letter to the Speaker of the House, the vice president said, and I quote, "I do not believe that such a course of action is in the best interest of our nation or consistent with our Constitution."
We start in the United States, where the execution of Lisa Montgomery has been carried out. This just a day after a US judge postponed it, arguing that she was too mentally ill to understand why she was being executed. That decision was overturned by the Supreme Court. Lisa Montgomery was sentenced to death in 2007 for strangling a pregnant woman in Missouri before cutting out and kidnapping her unborn baby. She's the first woman to be put to death since 1953. Her lawyers and supporters had appealed to President Trump for clemency.
On the roadside opposite the prison, many came to have their say. Since last summer, the town of Terre Haute has seen 9 people sent to their death. It's after federal executions were resumed by the government for the first time in nearly 2 decades. And now, Lisa Montgomery, the only woman on federal death row, is the latest.
And sites that have been famous for being bases of the Iranian Revolutionary Guards. Abu Kamal is a small town on the border between Iraq and Syria that has been completely taken over by the Iranian Revolutionary Guards in the last few years. And they're using this town and this, what has become their base, to smuggle lots of different, very accurate, high precise and high quality weapons from Iraq to Syria. This is a road that is used to be at least quite open for them. And this has been the target for many attacks, allegedly from the side of Israel. Now, the other 2 sites attacked are Al Mayadin and Deir az-Zur, both of them also known to be bases of the Iranian Revolutionary Guards, and both of them were targets for Israeli attacks in the past. Now, this attack is a bit different than what we've seen in the last few months. It's a very wide attack, a lot of different targets at the same night, and it's not the first nor the second attack this month.
Lacking the basics needed to shelter from freezing conditions, migrant families and unaccompanied children are stranded in the cold, waiting for a helping hand. But they've learned it's unlikely to come from the local community. In the northwest of Bosnia-Herzegovina, there are thousands like them hoping to cross into Croatia and into the EU. As the temperatures continue to drop, conditions are worsening at Camp Lipa, and for 900 people who've called it home, if only temporarily. The government refused to upgrade the camp for the winter, and with no running water or power, its residents were living in squalor. The International Organization for Migration, the IOM, began to shut it down last month and tried to find alternative accommodation. On December 23rd, a fire ravaged the camp and left those living there out in the cold. When they looked to relocate, local people blocked their buses. So they remain in the area, taking shelter wherever they can.
The Kuwaiti cabinet ministers have handed in their resignations to the Prime Minister, Sheikh Sabah, days after the opposition lawmakers submitted a motion asking to question the Premier over issues including the makeup of the cabinet. The resignations were forced after a majority of lawmakers backed a request to question the Prime Minister, a move that could have led to his dismissal or Parliament's dissolution. The cabinet formed after parliamentary elections last month was the second that the Prime Minister has headed in less than a year. Tensions mounted during the Kuwaiti Parliament's first session when the incumbent speaker was re-elected, which was open to both elected legislators and cabinet ministers as well. The lawmakers also claimed that the cabinet formation is not reflective of the poll results. The opposition lawmakers alleged that the speaker's re-election was due to government intervention and that they threatened to question the Prime Minister about it.
Twenty of the country's land ports of entry have been closed until the 15th of February. President Cyril Ramaphosa made the announcement on Monday night after record-breaking COVID-19 infections.
We, as the Portfolio Committee of On Home Affairs, visited today the Bay Bridge. The situation at Bay Bridge is very calm. The people who are moving up and down are those people who are exempted in terms of the regulation that the President have set. But I must say that we have seen few people who are using the whether it's a dam or that river to get into South Africa in a manner that is illegal. But the South African Defence Force is on guard, is making sure that we take those people back to Zimbabwe.
The encrypted messaging app Telegram has registered 25 million new users in just the last 72 hours. On Tuesday, Telegram announced that it hit a milestone, that it has surpassed 500 million active users. The surge comes after WhatsApp announced some controversial changes to its privacy policy. The changes, effective from the 8th of February, will allow WhatsApp to share more data with its parent company, which is Facebook. Telegram's founder and owner Pavel Durov announced the new user surge on his blog, covertly taking a potshot at WhatsApp without naming the application. Durov said, and I quote, "People no longer want to exchange their privacy for free services. They no longer want to be held hostage by tech monopolies that seem to think that they can get away with anything as long as their apps have a critical mass of users."